We are back and we're on the right path. Yes, it's the Right Path to Retirement podcast right here with the host of this thing, Jimmy Lynn, the president, founder, and of course, financial advisor, and now certified financial planner. Am I correct? Yes, Jimmy Lynn at Right Path Wealth Management here, based in the Las Vegas and Henderson, Nevada areas. We would love for you to be in touch with Jimmy and the team. I know Jimmy would. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Get in touch with them at rightpathwm.com, rightpathwm.com, or dial them up 702-805-7000. In fact, he has an educational seminar coming up in July. You could call the office, get more details about that, 702-805-7000, see if that's the right fit for you. And boy, we are celebrating here, Jimmy, because we are into summer. And some people, Jimmy, do spring cleaning, but you've been doing a little summer organizing, if I heard correct.
Yes, Doug. Excited to be with you again. Oh, by the way, before we get started, I want to congratulate you because you said Nevada, and then you corrected yourself and you said Nevada. So, I mean, we've made a lot of progress here.
It's only taken 9 months for me to get that right.
Right. We got the baby steps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's summertime. You know, kids are off, so I'm spending a little bit more time in the home office between meetings, going to our different offices here in Vegas. But I'm taking advantage of this time. We kind of doing a little bit of spring cleaning in my office, making sure specifically with our numbers, making sure that we know what our profit and losses are, cash flow, and so you got to drink what you're selling, right? So that's what we encourage all of our clients to do, is make sure you know your numbers, especially when you're going into retirement. How are you allocated? What's your cash flow? What's your income going to be in retirement? Well, it's no different when you're running a business. And so I'm making sure that I'm kind of taking my own medicine.
Oh, that's a great point. There are a lot of people. My dad was a general contractor, didn't ever do any work in the house very much. All right. He was always out doing it and never did it at home. So it's a good reminder. And it's a reminder to people too, that when you're dealing with Jimmy Lynn here, yes, they have a robust firm, but this is a small business. You're not dealing with a corporation. So sometimes you're so busy dealing with clients, you got to go back and do your own maintenance and make sure the books are right?
100%. And I think the difference that people are going to really see is that, you work with one of those big box investment firms. You got a person in front of you that, maybe has been trained to just help you invest your money. And that's specifically what their role is. But when you work with somebody that actually runs a business and has to be on top of their numbers, on their cash flow, knowing what debts are coming in, what income's coming in, and your long range projections, that's how you want your retirement treated. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that kind of sees life that way on a daily basis, not somebody that just took a couple of courses and then is in front of you saying, hey, this is what the books told me how you're supposed to invest, right? So I think that's a huge differentiator.
No, that's big time. So if you want to set up that first virtual call with Jimmy Lynn of the Right Path Wealth Management team, 702-805-7000. You call right now, get on the calendar. You can also fill out the contact form at rightpathwm.com. Again, it's like Main Street versus Wall Street type deal here, all right? You're going to get that velvet glove, really a specialized service there with Jimmy Lynn and the Right Path Wealth Management team. All right, now in our last couple of episodes, we talked about what it takes to become a certified financial planner and why those distinctions matter. And we also talked about what a first meeting is like. And so I just mentioned what those first meetings are, but check out all of our past episodes on Apple and Spotify and under the media tab at rightpathwm.com. Today, we're going to talk about something, Jimmy, that helps people with market investing. That is something that a lot of places don't have. So take it away.
Yeah, we want to talk about specifically a proprietary investment methodology that we're lucky enough to utilize. There's only, a handful of firms across the country that actually have access to what's called Market Guard. And it's basically a model portfolio that I believe is ideal for people that are kind of in the phase that we deal with, which are those people that are nearing retirement and then going into retirement. And the reason why we're so gung-ho on Market Guard, and we've been using it for years now, is just the fact that they have a structure in place. They're not like shooting by the hip, right? What they do is their specific framework is to have a non-emotional methodical, and mathematical approach to investing. So if you kind of break that down piece by piece, the first layer of that is really that non-emotional piece, because as investors, whether you're an individual investor or you're a money manager, when you don't have a framework, a lot of times emotion seeps in. And we all know what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to buy low and sell high.
Yeah.
But when you see the markets performing, and we've talked about this all the time, where we have this 24-hour news cycle, and we have these talking heads that are seeping into our ears, telling us, the sky is falling. Sometimes we allow, because we're all human, we allow that emotion to come in, and we may be making decisions that are not to our financial benefit. So with Market Guard, they really have parameters set up where they're looking, it's really more of a technical analysis approach, where they're looking for different parameters within the market that tell them, they're not guessing, that they're being told, okay, if this happens, the likelihood is that markets may go in this direction. Again, no certainty, but it gives them at least a better framework.
Yeah.
So that non-emotional side of it, I think, is really important, because as humans, we sometimes we can have knee-jerk reactions. So that's the first piece of it that I really
As
love.
we saw in April, by the way, let's remind people, way back in April, some 2 months ago, April 2nd, the tariff announcements were made. Nosedive. It's already rebounded, or at least back to about level-ish for the year. And
Yes.
a lot of that, while granted, if you're at the front end, you're like, okay, I know this is going to go down. I might want to go ahead and cash out now and take the upside before there is no upside. There's a lot of people freaking out, and then they freaked out for no reason, and now it's more expensive to buy it back because they bought on the downside.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Is that when you see stuff like that, you hear about these enormous tariffs and the markets crash, and you're just fearful, because we got to remember, we're not just talking about numbers here on a sheet of paper. We're talking about people's life savings and money that they need to last them 30 or 40 years through retirement. And so it's understandable that you can get emotional about that. And that's why you want a framework that takes that emotion out, because sometimes emotions, don't necessarily serve us the best. And so they have, it's a really methodical approach where they're taking away the emotion, and they're basically looking at the math. They have those algorithms that can identify what's going on in the market and what it tells us. And through their methodical approach, they will be able to determine when to buy, when to sell, and when to hold. And so that's really the approach that's really important when we're talking about investing people's life savings. Is you want to have a strategy. And Market Guard, they have a performance center that kind of gives us historical numbers that have done really well based on what their goals are, right? And so being able to identify, everyone's goals are not the same. And
Right.
so we're not necessarily just trying to beat certain markets. We're trying to fit what the client's needs are. And there's actually a really good analogy about this that kind of will help people understand. It's the chocolate chip cookie analogy.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard this before, Doug. If my kids ask me, and I'm not a baker at all, right? I couldn't make microwave pancakes for you. Like, I'm just not a baker. So if my kids said, "Dad, can you make us chocolate chip cookies?" Well, they could tell me what they want, and if I didn't get exactly the right ingredients, I might get some eggs, some flour, some sugar, and instead of vanilla, what if I get vinegar? Right? Just that one change, and you don't even put much vanilla in there, right? When you're making these cookies. But if I instead switch out vinegar, it's not chocolate chip cookies anymore, right? One ingredient is so important.
Fish and chips cookies.
Right? Exactly. So that really equates to making sure you first, at a starting point, find the right securities, the right investments to put into your portfolio. And that's what Market Guard does a really great job of. They'll basically kind of take the thousands of investment options that are in a haystack, and they'll put a magnet over that haystack. And based on their parameters, they're going to pull up the best 100. Right. So it's really making sure you have the right investments. But even if I had the eggs, the vanilla, the flour, and the sugar, well, if I had 12 eggs, 3 bags of sugar, 4 bottles of vanilla, and then just a pinch of flour, then I'm not going to have cookies. I'm not going to have that base, right? I'm going to have soup. So it's not only important to have the right ingredients, but I have to have it allocated the right way. I need the appropriate amount of each. And that again goes back to when you have that portfolio. I mean, this first step is getting those best in class based on research, based on what I wouldn't say best, but based on the parameters that they're looking for, find those investments that fit what we're looking for.
Right.
Once we have that, though, then we got to make sure we have the right allocation, and that kind of equates to the right level of stocks versus bonds. And then if you're in stocks, different verticals that you want to be in within the stock. So having that right allocation is this next step in really having that model portfolio. But even if you have the right ingredients, and then I have the right amount of sugar, right amount of vanilla, right amount of eggs, right amount of flour, I can have everything perfect. But guess what, Doug? I put it together, I put it in the oven, and if I leave it in there for 3 hours, we don't have the best cookies, right?
Got chips,
right? We got burnt toast or whatever it might be. So the third component, and you can't be missing any of these components. The third component is making sure that you have the right time to bake those cookies. And really the way that kind of equates to the model portfolios is we have to have the right securities based on what our parameters are. We have to have the right allocations, say of stocks and bonds, but we also have to know that individual client to understand what their goals are and what their risk tolerance is, because we want to make sure that if the markets are acting a little volatile, that we pull those investments out if that's appropriate for that client, just like we pull those cookies out to make sure they don't burn. And so every client is going to be different. Some people, they like their cookies a little more crispy, right? So they may see that volatility and say, you know what, Jimmy, I'm not worried about it. I've been invested in the market. This money is for my kids. So I'm not too worried about that volatility. Others, they may want those soft batch cookies, right? So they say, Jimmy, if that market is hot right now, it's really volatile, I want you to make sure that we pull those cookies out because I don't like burnt cookies, right? So because they're using these assets in the near term, and so they don't want that market volatility. So it's really about those 3 components of having the right investment mix of securities, having it allocated appropriately, again, based on client goals, and then also understanding when to buy, when to sell, and when it's safe to re-enter based on kind of that baking time of each individual client. So that's really why we feel like Market Guard does a great job, because number one, they have the staff, they have CFAs and staff that are doing the research. The head of Market Guard provides monthly video updates of what's going on with all the portfolios. And they have a system in place, right? Non-emotional, methodical, mathematical approach. They've dialed it in, and they have allocations that fit most retirees, because whether you're looking for money to grow for the long term, or you need that money for the near term and you need to get income through their dividend portfolios, they have so many different options that we're really excited that we're one of the few advisors across the country that actually have access to this proprietary investment methodology. So we want to make sure that our clients know about it, and if they want to learn more about it, reach out to our office. They can always, as always, contact us 702-805-7000. Schedule time with us, and we'll kind of go through this and see if it's the right fit for them. But we're really excited to have access to this.
That's incredible. Yeah. So look, if you are somebody who is really very much out of the market because of all the bad things you've heard, Jimmy Lynn and the team at Right Path Wealth Management are explaining to you right now something that could let you be in as much as you want to and get you in a better situation, maybe, than being completely not exposed to any of it. All right. That is Market Guard, proprietary to one of the few firms that use it, Right Path Wealth Management. Get on their calendar now, 702-805-7000, or click the contact button at rightpathwm.com. Don't let your mid-year check-in with your advisor pass you by. So before you know, it'll be busy fall, busy winter. There's all sorts of reasons to meet with a financial advisor, and Market Guard is one of many of those reasons. Thanks for explaining that today, Jimmy. Appreciate you.
Oh, no problem, Doug. I enjoyed it.
Very much enjoyable to me, too. I'm always fascinated to learn more about Market Guard. Folks, again, rightpathdwm.com. You can learn more about Jimmy and the Right Path Wealth Management team. Remember, there's a seminar coming up, like a library educational event in July in the Las Vegas area. Call the office, 702-805-7000 to learn more about that. Jimmy Lynn is not only the host of the show, but he's the president, founder, and certified financial planner at Right Path Wealth Management. I'm your co-host, Doug Turnbull. Big thanks to Jimmy. Thanks to all of you for listening. Check out Right Path Wealth Management on Facebook. They put up a lot of good contact there. And big thanks to our producer, Rob Scott, on the ones and twos for getting this thing published. We'll have another episode of the Right Path to Retirement podcast coming your way shortly. And if you liked what you were listening to, send a link to your friends, okay? Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.
Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations, wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships.